My name is Meri, and on Christmas night my sister called me worthless in front of the whole family. The house was bright with lights. Garland curled along the banister. The table was set with Grandma's china. The oven's warmth pressed against the windows. I wanted the evening to be small and kind. I wanted one night without the old edges. Instead, it became the night everything shifted. We gathered around the oak table. Plates clinked. Glasses chimed. My mother smiled like she always did, polite and distant. My father told a joke he had told for years. My cousins leaned in, eager for gossip. Cassandra sat across from me in a red dress that caught every eye. Her laughter was the kind that cut. She waited for the right moment. A toast rose. Glasses lifted. Then she turned to me with that slow, practiced smile. "Why is Meri even here?" she said. Her voice held the room. "She is worthless. Grandma gave us everything. Lucas is doing well. I run my business. Meri, she contributes nothing." Laughter followed. My aunt chuckled. My cousins made small noises of agreement. Even my parents said nothing. They let the words settle like truth. I froze. My fork hovered. My mouth was empty. I wanted to stand up. To say I had worked 2 jobs to pay rent. To say I had cared for Grandma's plants when she was in the hospital. To say that my quiet life was not nothing. But the noise of the table swallowed me. I left quietly. No one reached for my hand. No one called me back. I climbed the stairs on soft feet, the house humming below me like a thing that had been waiting to swallow me whole. In the study, the lawyer sat with his briefcase. He had been asked to wait. The will reading would be after dessert. Cassandra had already told everyone she would inherit most of it. She had rehearsed her speech about responsibility and legacy. My parents nodded like they had always agreed. I remembered Grandma differently. She pressed notes into my palm. She winked when I read aloud. She told me once when I was 10, "You are the kind who carries quietly. People will see it when they must." I thought of that as I shut the study door behind me. The sound of laughter floated up from the dining room. Cassandra's voice rose, bright and cruel. She was certain. She had practiced this. She believed the world would bend to what she declared. The lawyer cleared his throat. He wore an old suit, a quiet man with a folder. He shuffled papers. "We will begin." My hands were cold on my lap. I held them still. I wanted to be present, calm. I wanted the truth to have its place. Because Grandma had been a woman who noticed things other people missed. She noticed the small kindnesses. She noticed who sat in the corner and read while others performed. She noticed me. In a way my mother did not. She kept a secret in her desk. A paper folded into an envelope. A note for the right time. A will that would not simply distribute money. It would distribute judgment. Cassandra believed the house would be hers. She had told the story so many times that others believed it too. My parents had adopted her tale because it was easy. They had preferred the loud child over the quiet one. They had preferred the child who made them proud in public. They had chosen the image. But Grandma had chosen differently. She had lived long enough to see where favor led. She had written carefully. She had watched us all. And she had a way of making a truth land like thunder. I had kept one of her notes in my wallet for years. It read simply, "When they laugh, remember your work. It will judge them better than anger." I breathed that sentence now and folded my hands on my knees. The lawyer broke the hush. He unsealed the envelope. He read slowly, each word measured like a bell toll. The room below grew quieter as the lines reached them. Cassandra's smile faltered. My parents' faces changed like weather. Then the line that changed everything landed in a voice that felt too loud. "To my granddaughter Meri, I leave the house, the accounts, and the collection of letters. Use them well." Gasps moved through the study like a wind. I felt the paper still in the lawyer's hand as if it was cool and real against my palm. Cassandra's face went white. She had been certain. She had expected praise, not this. I rose slowly because my legs felt like they might betray me. I had imagined revenge in 1,000 small ways. But this was not revenge. This was truth. Grandma had chosen to see me. She had given me what mattered. Cassandra did not take this well. She barged into the study breathless, eyes bright with fury. She leaned close to me and hissed, "Watch me take everything you will never have." Her scent of perfume and certainty filled my face. Her hand hovered near my shoulder as if to intimidate. The lawyer's eyes flicked between us. Then Cassandra laughed, a high sound meant to wound and to own the room. Because as Cassandra stormed back downstairs to claim what she thought was hers, the phone on the lawyer's desk rang. He answered, then paled. He looked at me, then at Cassandra. "There is something else," he said. "Grandma left a codicil. It must be read now." The room went still after the lawyer's words. "There is something else, a codicil." Cassandra froze in the doorway, her red dress catching the light from the chandelier. She had stormed downstairs to gloat, but now her eyes snapped back to the lawyer like knives. "What do you mean?" she demanded. "The will was clear. Grandma left everything to me." The lawyer adjusted his glasses. His hand trembled slightly as he opened a smaller envelope, sealed in dark wax. "Your grandmother left an addendum, dated 6 months after the first will. It must be read aloud before the family." I felt my heart pound in my chest. 6 months ago, Grandma had been weaker but sharper than ever. She had whispered to me one night when I tucked a blanket over her shoulders, "Don't worry, Meri. I've seen everything." I hadn't known what she meant. Until now. The lawyer cleared his throat, his voice carrying into the dining room where everyone sat waiting. "In recognition of what I have witnessed, I hereby alter the inheritance. Cassandra shall receive." He paused. The silence grew taut, everyone leaning in. "Nothing." The word cracked like thunder. My father's fork clattered to his plate. My aunt gasped. Cassandra's laugh burst out, high-pitched and desperate. "Nothing? That's ridiculous. She would never do that to me. I was her favorite." The lawyer continued, unmoved. "Instead, the estate, house, and accounts are left solely to my granddaughter Meri. Because while others sought to perform for me, Meri carried quietly. She gave without show. She is the one I trust." The words wrapped around me, heavy and unreal. Grandma's handwriting, Grandma's choice, being spoken aloud in front of everyone who had called me worthless. Cassandra's face turned crimson. "This is a lie." She was confused. She didn't know what she was signing. "She was of sound mind," the lawyer interrupted firmly. "There are witnesses. 2 nurses. Both signed. This document is binding." The dining room exploded. My cousins whispered furiously. My father barked. "This is nonsense." Cassandra earned her place. My mother's voice cut sharp. "Meri? She cannot even handle herself, let alone an estate." But their words no longer stuck the way they once had. They bounced off the walls, empty and brittle. Because for the first time I wasn't silent. I rose from my chair, my voice steady. "You all sat here and laughed when Cassandra called me worthless. You said nothing while she stripped me bare with her words. But Grandma saw me. She knew the truth. And tonight so do you." The silence that followed was heavier than the storm outside. Cassandra lunged toward the lawyer, grabbing at the papers. "I won't accept this," she shouted, her voice breaking. "I'll challenge it. I'll prove it's false." The lawyer pulled the document back calmly. "You may try, but it will not change what she signed." Her eyes cut to me, blazing. "You think this makes you better than me, Meri? You think a piece of paper makes you anything but pathetic?" I held her gaze. For the first time in my life I didn't shrink. "It's not the paper, Cassandra. It's the truth. And it terrifies you." The tension snapped like glass shattering. My parents stood, my cousins whispered, and Cassandra stormed out, her heels striking the floor like hammers. The sound echoed long after she was gone. But the night wasn't finished. As the guests began to leave in a swirl of whispers and sideways glances, the lawyer handed me a smaller envelope, sealed with Grandma's handwriting. "She wanted you to have this privately." My hand shook as I broke the seal. Inside was a letter. Grandma's voice flowed from the page in every line. "Meri, you were always the one they dismissed. But I saw the bills you paid when your sister bragged. I saw the nights you worked while others slept. I saw the heart you hid from them because they didn't deserve it. Do not let them take this from you. The estate is protection, but the letters are power. They hold truths you must use when the time comes." My breath caught. What truths? What letters? At the bottom of the note was a key taped to the page. Beneath it, a final line. "Go to the cedar chest. You'll know when." because when I looked up, Cassandra was standing in the doorway again, her eyes fixed on the key in my hand. She smiled slowly and whispered, "I'll take that too." Cassandra's smile in the doorway lingered like smoke. She had seen the key. She knew there was more than money at stake. I slipped the envelope into my coat pocket, my fingers curling tightly around it. The cedar chest. Grandma's final instructions. My heart thudded, part fear, part anticipation. That night, while the family argued in the dining room and Cassandra shouted about lawsuits, I slipped quietly into Grandma's old room. The chest sat at the foot of her bed, carved with patterns of vines and flowers, its brass lock catching the glow of the lamp. I slid the key in, turned with a soft click. Inside, stacks of envelopes, some thick, some thin, each labeled in Grandma's precise handwriting. Names, dates, places. My breath caught. She had not only written to me, she had written about them. I pulled out the first one labeled Cassandra 2018. The letter inside was crisp, unflinching. Grandma had written, "You hide debts behind your laughter. I have seen the notices you tear before anyone else reads them. Pride will ruin you." My chest tightened. Proof. Not gossip. Not whispers. Written in Grandma's own hand. I opened another. Mother 2020. You speak of fairness but spend your savings on appearances. I saw the account you keep hidden from your husband. I will not pretend blindness. My hands trembled. These were not sentimental letters. They were records. Warnings. Evidence. Finally, at the bottom of the chest, an envelope marked for Meri. I opened it slowly. Meri, these are not just memories. They are the truths no one else wanted to see. Use them when you must. Cassandra believes she can charm the world. Your parents believe silence will protect them. But truth is heavier than lies. When the time comes, you will hold the weight they cannot carry. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it back into the chest. My pulse raced. Grandma hadn't only left me the estate. She had left me the story behind it. A story strong enough to break Cassandra's performance apart. The next morning, I began gathering everything. I photocopied the letters, locking the originals in a safe at my apartment. I created folders on my computer, labeling each one with names and dates. Cassandra's debts. Mother's hidden account. Father's silence. Even notes about cousins who had borrowed from Grandma and never repaid. Piece by piece, a picture emerged. A family that looked golden from the outside but was crumbling within. Julia, my closest friend, came over when she saw the dark circles under my eyes. I showed her the copies. Her jaw dropped. "Meri, this is dynamite. Cassandra will burn if this goes public." She called me worthless, I whispered. But Grandma saw everything. Julia leaned closer. "Then don't rush. Build carefully. If Cassandra thinks she can snatch this from you, she'll try. You need to be ready when she does." She was right. Cassandra was already circling. She left me voicemails dripping with venom. "That house is mine. Everyone knows it. You're too weak to handle it. Better give me the key now before you embarrass yourself." I saved every message. Time-stamped. Cataloged. But Cassandra wasn't just calling. She was digging. That evening, Miriam, our old neighbor, knocked on my door. "I thought you should know," she said gently. "Your sister was asking me questions about you. About your jobs. About whether you could afford the estate. She's trying to build a case." I thanked her, my stomach knotting tighter. Cassandra wasn't just angry. She was plotting. So I plotted too. I met Evelyn Ross, a lawyer Julia recommended. She read through the letters with sharp eyes. "This is powerful," she said. "Not all of it is legally binding, but in court, paired with bank statements and testimonies, it paints a devastating picture." I asked the question I had been afraid of. "Do I fight her in court?" Evelyn leaned back. "Not yet. Court is the last step. For now, let her believe she has the upper hand. Let her show her arrogance in public. That's when we strike." I left her office with a folder of legal drafts tucked under my arm. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just reacting. I was preparing. But Cassandra wasn't done. That night, as I returned home, I found an envelope slipped under my door. My name written in red ink. Inside, a single sheet. "Hand over the letters or I will destroy you." See. The paper shook in my hand. Because when I looked up from the threat, I saw her red dress across the street, shimmering under a street lamp. Cassandra stood there watching me, her smile sharp as ever. The red dress outside my window haunted me long after Cassandra disappeared into the dark. I held her threat in my hand, the red ink glowing against the lamp. Hand over the letters or I will destroy you. But I wasn't alone anymore. I refused to be. The next morning Julia came by with coffee. She saw the envelope and shook her head. She's desperate, Meri. That's good. Desperation makes people sloppy. But you need protection now, legal, emotional, all of it. She was right. So I called Evelyn Ross, the lawyer who had already looked through Grandma's letters. By noon I was sitting in her office again, the city buzzing faintly outside the tall windows. Evelyn spread the photocopies across her desk, her expression calm but fierce. Your sister is bold, she said, tapping the threat with her pen. But that helps us. We can frame this not only as harassment, but as attempted coercion. If she escalates, we escalate. She thinks she's scaring you, but really she's writing the case against herself. Her certainty steadied me. For the first time, Cassandra's sharp words didn't slice as deep. They slid across the armor Evelyn was building. We began mapping allies. Julia volunteered immediately. I'll testify. I've seen Meri pay bills when her family pretended not to notice. I've seen Cassandra flaunt clothes she couldn't afford. I know who really carried the weight. Then Miriam, our old neighbor, agreed to provide a written statement. She remembered the nights Grandma whispered to her about debts Cassandra tried to hide. She remembered how I watered Grandma's garden when no one else bothered. Piece by piece, Evelyn built the scaffolding of a case. We don't just want defense, she reminded me. We want offense. If Cassandra tries to contest the will, we will show her history. Her debts, her threats, her lies. We will make her untrustworthy in every eye that matters. But it wasn't only about court. Evelyn suggested something sharper. Your family thrives on image, yes? These galas, these dinners, these perfect photos. Exposure in front of others wounds them more than judgment in private. If you want her to feel what she made you feel, humiliation, then we plan for that stage. Her words struck a chord. Cassandra had called me worthless at a full table, in front of every relative. She wanted me small while she shined. But if truth was my weapon, then truth would be shown where she least expected it. That night, Julia and I spread the letters across my kitchen table. We highlighted key phrases. Pride will ruin you. Hidden accounts. False debts. We paired them with receipts Evelyn had pulled, proof of overdrafts, notices, credit slips Cassandra had thought buried. I built a binder neat and sharp with tabs for each section. Cassandra's debts. Mother's secrets. Witness statements. Threats. I held it like armor, the same way Grandma had once told me to hold my work. Still, fear lingered. At dinner the next night, Cassandra's name flashed on my phone again and again. I didn't answer, but her texts rolled in. You think you're clever. Wait until everyone knows who you really are. Wait until you're laughed out of that house for good. Julia saw my hands trembling and pressed her palm over mine. She's losing control, Meri. And you're building it. Don't let her trick you into doubt. I nodded, breathing deep. For so long I had been silent, the quiet shadow in the corner. But now I had allies who refused to let me vanish. Evelyn's voice replayed in my head. Exposure hurts them more than judgment. And then fate gave us the stage. A week later an invitation arrived. The annual family holiday gathering. My parents' names at the top, Cassandra's flourish scrawled at the bottom. Attendance expected. I stared at it, my chest tight. Julia's eyes lit with a sharp fire. This is it. The perfect moment. Evelyn agreed. They want to put you in the corner again. Instead, you'll walk in with truth. When the time comes, you don't need to shout. You let the evidence speak. One page at a time. I closed my fingers around the invitation. The same house where Cassandra had humiliated me. The same table where my family laughed while I shrank. This time I would not sit small. This time I would stand. Because 2 nights before the gathering, I found my apartment door unlocked. On the floor, another note in red ink. Bring the letters or I'll make sure no one believes you ever existed. When Evelyn set the binder on her desk, it felt like a weapon finally forged. The copies of Grandma's letters. The bank statements. The witness notes. Everything was lined up like neat soldiers. I breathed in. I was ready to aim. Evelyn spoke slowly. We will do this in 3 moves. Legal. Witnesses. Optics. She tapped each word. Together they are unstoppable. First move. Legal preparation. Evelyn drafted a motion to affirm the codicil. She prepared affidavits. She wrote a cease and desist to stop Cassandra from touching the chest or the letters. She also prepared a defensive brief in case Cassandra filed a challenge. We file only if they force us, she said. For now we prepare to act fast. Second move. Witness lock. Julia called every neighbor and friend who might help. Miriam agreed to sign a statement about Grandma's habit of noting financial irregularities. Harold, the old mailman, remembered seeing Cassandra remove envelopes from Grandma's mailbox. He would testify. Evelyn hired a handwriting expert. Claire signed on to provide an affidavit showing the codicil was genuine, and that Cassandra's later claims had no basis. Third move. Public optics. We are not putting on a show, Evelyn warned. But family thrives on image. If we take this fight into the open, their lies will crack in public. The truth must be visible, calm, undeniable. She suggested a plan for the gathering. We would sit quietly until Cassandra made her move. Then I would stand and present the binder page by page. Witnesses would be visible in the room. The handwriting expert would be on call. Evelyn would keep a lawyer at the ready to file emergency motions if Cassandra tried to seize the papers. We rehearsed the night before the gathering as if it were a play. I practiced reading key lines aloud. Short sentences. No tears. Facts only. Julia played Cassandra sharp, sneering, always loud. Evelyn coached my posture, my cadence, the way I let silence hang. People equate calm with truth, she said. Anger looks defensive. Calm looks credible. We mapped the room. I would sit near the center. Julia at my side. Miriam and Harold visible. Claire at the back. Evelyn near the door. We placed copies of critical pages in sealed envelopes. One would be handed to Pastor Lewis. One to a trusted neighbor. One to the lawyer. The originals would stay with me in a locked bag. We also prepared an exit plan. If things went badly, we would not argue in the street. We would file for emergency relief. Evelyn made calls to the court clerk to ensure we could get a hearing the next morning if necessary. The law would move slowly if they took the letters and publicly tore them apart. But if they tried to burn them, if they tried to make it a spectacle, the judge could be convinced to intervene overnight. Small details saved us. Julia brought a small digital recorder and a list of people who could live stream a recording. Not to sensationalize. To preserve truth. We prepared a single short statement for the press if asked. This is a family matter, it said. We will pursue facts. The words were safe. They cut through gossip. I felt the tension in my throat loosen as we worked. For the first time since Cassandra had called me worthless, I felt like I had a path forward that was not begging for approval or hiding in corners. Yet Evian warned me one more time. They will try to gaslight you. They will tell you the letters are fake. They will try to force you to sign something in public. Don't sign. Ever. Signatures are how they chain people. Her eyes were steady. They will overreach when they fear loss. The night before the gathering, I slept not at my apartment but at Julia's. The binder was locked in a small safe. The letters were sealed in a bank box Evelyn held. I wanted distance from my old house. I wanted a buffer from the venom. On the morning of the gathering, I drove past the old oak tree where Grandma and I had once fed birds. The air was thin. The house looked the same from the outside. Inside, everything had shifted. The stage had been reset. We arrived early. Julia in a dark coat. Claire with her folder. Miriam with a small, solemn face. Evelyn with a briefcase. The house smelled faintly of cookies and pine. Under that, an edge. A plan waiting. I took a deep breath and stepped into the dining room. Faces turned. Some were curious. Some were cold. Cassandra sat at the head of the table now. She wore a new ring and a smile that tried to hide a tremor. We sat. We waited. The food arrived. Small talk flitted around like nervous birds. My chest hammered. I kept my hands still. My plan relied on one thing I could not control, Cassandra's hubris. If she played coy, we would be patient. If she overreached, we had the law ready. Then Julia's phone buzzed. She glanced down. Her face changed. She pressed the screen and handed it to me. A text. Photo attached. The image showed the safe at the foot of Grandma's bed. The cedar chest. The caption read, "Found. Enjoy your papers. See." My blood turned to ice. Before I could speak, Evelyn's jaw tightened. She put a hand on my arm. "They moved faster than we thought," she said. Her voice was quiet but fierce. "Someone went into the room earlier. That means Cassandra has the letters now. Or someone working with her does." The room tilted. The plan we had built, tidy and formidable, had a hole in its heart. The letters were missing. The evidence we intended to present might already be in Cassandra's hands. Because as I stared at the photo, my phone chimed. A new message scrolled across the screen. A video link. I tapped it. Cassandra's face filled the screen, smiling into the camera. She held an envelope high and said, sweet and certain, "Watch me reveal the truth. Tonight. No one will stop me." The video froze on Cassandra's smirk, her hand waving the envelope like a trophy. My stomach turned cold. She had the letters, or she wanted me to believe she did. Either way, the plan we had built so carefully cracked under the weight of her arrogance. Evelyn leaned over my shoulder, her voice steady but low. "She's bluffing. She can't have the originals. We secured them at the bank." "But the video shows an envelope," Julia whispered. Her eyes flicked to me. "What if she got to the copies at your place?" I swallowed hard. The thought pierced deeper than I wanted to admit. I had locked my apartment, but I remembered the night the door stood ajar. Cassandra's red dress under the street lamp. Had she already slipped inside? Had she stolen enough to twist the truth? The dining room hummed with tension. My relatives chattered, oblivious to the storm about to break. My parents smiled for appearances. My cousins took photos of the table for social media. And Cassandra sat at the head, glowing with smug certainty. When the plates were cleared, she clinked her glass. "Before dessert, I have something important to share." Her voice filled the room like perfume, sweet but suffocating. Julia tensed beside me. Miriam shifted uncomfortably. Evelyn whispered, "Steady. Let her speak first. Arrogance is her undoing." Cassandra stood, the envelope in hand. "Our dear grandmother left us many things. Memories, lessons, even surprises. But she also left truths. Truths that some of us would rather hide." She looked straight at me. "Tonight I will share them." The room fell silent. Even the clinking of forks stopped. Cassandra slid a paper from the envelope with theatrical precision. It wasn't one of Grandma's letters. It was a printout. Cheap ink. Crooked margins. My heart raced as she held it high. "This," she declared, "is a letter Grandma wrote about Meri. In it, she admits Meri was fragile, untrustworthy, and unfit to handle responsibility. Grandma knew it. She only gave Meri the estate because she pitied her." Gasps rippled across the table. My father's face darkened. My mother's lips tightened in satisfaction. I forced myself to breathe. Evelyn leaned close, her whisper sharp. "It's fake. The font is wrong. The phrasing is wrong. But you cannot just shout. You need timing." Cassandra smiled wider, relishing the murmurs. "See? Even Grandma knew Meri was nothing. Worthless. This inheritance is a mistake." Her words stabbed, echoes of Christmas night returning. But this time I was not that silent girl at the table. I rose slowly. My chair scraped against the floor, pulling every eye to me. "May I see it?" I asked, my voice calm. Cassandra blinked, caught off guard, then handed me the page with a mocking smirk. "Go ahead. Pretend it isn't real." I scanned the text quickly. Evelyn was right. The phrasing was wrong. Stilted, formal. Nothing like Grandma's sharp, personal voice. The signature at the bottom was shaky, a poor imitation. And I knew something no one else did. Grandma never used the phrase fragile spirit. It wasn't in her vocabulary. I laid the paper flat on the table. "This isn't hers," I said simply. Cassandra laughed. "Of course you'd say that." But before she could gloat further, Claire, the handwriting analyst, stood from the back of the room. She had been quiet all evening, blending into the crowd. Now she spoke with authority. "That is not Margaret's handwriting. It is an amateur forgery. I am certified to testify under oath, and I can prove it in minutes. The room buzzed again. Relatives leaned closer. My mother's face pinched. Cassandra's smirk faltered for the first time. But she wasn't finished. She snapped her fingers and a young man stepped forward from the corner, carrying a laptop. Then let everyone watch for themselves, she said. I had the documents authenticated. He opened the laptop and projected a screen onto the wall. Files popped up, scans of more so-called letters. Each one painted me as incompetent, selfish, unworthy. Lines I knew Grandma would never write. Whispers thickened. Some of the relatives shifted uneasily. Others shook their heads. My father muttered, "Looks official to me." The room tilted again. Cassandra had prepared more than I imagined. She wasn't just bluffing. She had orchestrated a show. Evelyn pressed a note into my hand. Her writing was sharp, urgent. "Do not panic. We have the originals. We reveal at the peak of her performance." I steadied myself. Cassandra thought she held the truth. But I had the real letters. I just needed to wait for her pride to overreach. Still, a knot twisted in my gut. If she had managed to steal even one copy from my apartment, what else had she touched? How deep did her reach go? Because just as I prepared to open my binder and expose the forgery, the lights flickered, and the laptop on the wall displayed a new file Cassandra hadn't opened yet. The title made my breath stop cold. Letter to Meri, Confession. The title on the screen glowed like a wound. Letter to Meri, Confession. The room held its breath. My relatives craned their necks. Cassandra's lips curled in triumph. "This one," she said sweetly, "will prove everything." The young man clicked. The file opened. Words appeared in black font on a pale background. "Meri, you have disappointed me more than I can bear. I gave you chances, but you were weak. I chose Cassandra as my heir in my heart. The only reason you will inherit is pity. Do not mistake it for worth." Gasps rippled through the dining room. My father's face lit with vindication. My mother muttered, "I knew it." Cassandra turned to the guests. Her hands spread like she had delivered a sermon. But I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I studied the words carefully, letting the silence stretch. And then I laughed. Soft. Low. Enough to cut the tension in half. Cassandra's head snapped toward me. "What's so funny?" I looked up, my voice calm. "Grandma would never write that. And anyone who knew her for even one afternoon would agree." Whispers began. Doubt etched in. I walked to the table where the laptop glowed and tapped the screen. These words. "Heir in my heart." Do you know why that's impossible? Because Grandma despised the word heir. She told me once it sounded like vanity. She always said, "Legacy is not heir, Meri. It is honesty." The room shifted. Some of my cousins exchanged looks. My aunt frowned. I reached into my bag and drew out the binder. My hands no longer trembled. "You want truth," I said, loud enough for every corner to hear. Here it is. Page 1. Grandma's original letter about Cassandra's debts, in her own handwriting. Bold, sharp, unmistakable. "You hide debts behind laughter. Pride will ruin you." I laid it on the table. Page 2. Grandma's words about my mother's secret account. "You spend on appearances while pretending fairness." I laid that too. Page 3. The letter addressed to me. "You carried quietly. You gave without show. You are the one I trust." Claire stepped forward then, her voice steady. "I am a certified analyst. These are originals verified. Ink, paper, signature, all authentic. What Cassandra has shown is forgery, clumsy and obvious." The buzz in the room swelled. Relatives leaned over the binder, eyes darting from page to page. Some covered their mouths. Others shook their heads. Cassandra's face went pale. No, this is fake. She made these." Evelyn's voice cut clean through the noise. "The originals are stored in a secured bank box. Witnesses have already signed affidavits. If this becomes a legal battle, the court will see who is lying. And the penalty for presenting false evidence is severe." My mother tried to interject. "She forged." But I slammed Cassandra's own writing threat on the table. "Hand over the letters or I will destroy you." Gasps erupted again. My aunt whispered. "She threatened her?" Julia spoke from her seat, her voice sharp. Yes. And she stalked her. I saw her waiting outside Mary's apartment. I saved the messages. They're time-stamped. Silence. Heavy. Unforgiving. I looked directly at Cassandra. My voice did not rise. You called me worthless at Christmas. You told me I was nothing. But tonight, everyone sees the truth. Grandma trusted me. She prepared for this moment. And now your lies collapse in front of everyone you tried to impress. The last word hung like a bell. Cassandra's hands shook. The laptop screen flickered with her false files, but no one cared anymore. All eyes were on the real letters spread across the table, their edges glowing under the chandelier light. For the first time in years, the silence belonged to me. Then my father stood, his voice trembling with anger. You've ruined this family, Meri. Are you happy? I met his glare. I didn't ruin it. I revealed it. Grandma already saw the cracks. I only held up the mirror. No one laughed. No one mocked. The room that once swallowed my voice now listened in silence. Because just as I closed the binder and thought the war was finished, Cassandra lunged for the laptop, screaming, "If I can't have it, no one will." Her hand slammed the power button, and the screen went black. Then she grabbed a wine glass and hurled it across the table, straight at me. The glass spun through the air, catching the chandelier light before it shattered against the wall behind me. Wine splattered across the cream wallpaper like blood. Gasps erupted. Someone screamed. The room, already brittle, cracked into chaos. Cassandra stood panting, her red dress torn slightly at the sleeve from her lunge at the laptop. Her eyes were wild. "You don't deserve any of this," she shrieked. "Grandma loved me. Me, not you." For years I had dreamed of this moment. Not the violence but the mask slipping. The perfect sister revealed for what she was. Evelyn stepped between us, her hand raised calmly. "Enough. Every person here has seen the truth. Every threat you make only buries you deeper." But Cassandra was beyond reason. She turned to the guests, desperate. "Don't you see? She forged it all. She tricked you. She stole my inheritance." Miriam rose slowly from her seat, her voice steady. "No, Cassandra. We saw you tearing debt notices out of the mailbox. We heard you laughing about hiding them. Grandma told me herself. She worried about you. She trusted Meri." The words landed like stones. Cassandra's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then Harold, the retired mailman, spoke up from the corner. "I delivered those envelopes. I saw your hand snatch them before anyone else. I remember the red ink you used to scribble fake notes. It was you, not Meri." Gasps swept through the room. My cousins whispered frantically. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others stared at Cassandra with disgust. My father slammed his fist on the table. "This is family business," he roared, his face red. "It should never have left this house." Evelyn's voice cut sharp. "It is no longer family business. It is fraud, harassment, forgery. The law will see it." Julia pulled out her phone. "I've recorded everything since Cassandra started waving her fake letters. It's all here. Her threats. Her meltdown. Her lies unraveling in real time." Cassandra's face drained of color. She stumbled back a step, eyes darting around the room, searching for an ally. But there were none left. My mother tried weakly. "She's just upset. Surely we can handle this quietly." But Pastor Lewis, who had sat silently until now, rose with slow gravity. His voice was low, but it carried. "Silence is what let this grow like rot. The truth was buried too long. Tonight the rot has been cut open. And all of us must face it." The guests murmured agreement. The tide had turned fully. I stood tall, binder in hand. My voice steady. "You called me worthless. You said I had nothing. But tonight, everyone sees who carried the truth. Grandma trusted me, not because of pity, but because she knew what you refused to see. I was never nothing." The silence that followed was not emptiness. It was judgment. Heavy. Unforgiving. Cassandra screamed a raw, broken sound and lunged again. This time not at me but at the binder. Julia grabbed her arm mid-motion. Evelyn moved fast, snapping the binder shut and tucking it under her arm. "Enough," Evelyn said again, this time like a verdict. Security, two distant cousins who worked in law enforcement, stepped forward. They didn't arrest Cassandra, but they guided her out of the room firmly as she kicked and screamed. Her voice echoed down the hallway, shrill and desperate. "This isn't over, Meri. I'll destroy you. I swear it." The door slammed behind her. Silence returned, thick and heavy. I looked around at the faces. My parents sat stiff, avoiding my eyes. My cousins stared with a mix of shock and awe. Miriam nodded slowly, pride softening her expression. Julia's hand was still tight on my arm. And then, slowly, people began to rise. Some left quietly, muttering. Others stopped to put a hand on my shoulder, whispering, "We didn't know." Or, "She fooled us too." But the truth hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Nothing would be the same. When the last guest left, the dining room was a wreck. Shattered glass, spilled wine, papers scattered. My father muttered, "You've disgraced us." My mother said nothing. I picked up the last of the pages, slid them into the binder, and faced them. "No. You disgraced yourselves. Grandma saw it. Now everyone does." Because as I turned to leave the ruined room, my phone buzzed with a new message. It wasn't from Cassandra. It was from an unknown number. It read, "You think it's over? Ask Evelyn what she hasn't told you." The morning after the Christmas gathering, I woke to silence. Not the comforting kind, but the hollow silence after a storm. My phone was still buzzing. Missed calls, messages, half of them anonymous numbers. The story of last night had already begun to spread. Julia sat at my table sipping coffee, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She looked at me carefully. "You did it, Meri." Cassandra showed her true self. No one can forget that scene. But my chest felt tight. The message from the unknown number kept flashing in my mind. "Ask Evelyn what she hasn't told you." Evelyn arrived just after 10, carrying her briefcase, her expression composed as always. She spread the binder across my table, checking every page. "We're filing motions today," she said. "The codicil will be secured officially, and Cassandra's attempts to contest will be flagged. The threats you received will be submitted as harassment. You're on strong ground." Her calm steadied me, but I couldn't shake the text. I slid my phone across the table. "This came last night. Do you know what it means?" Evelyn read it once, twice. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Probably another scare tactic," she said. "They're trying to make you doubt even your allies." But Julia caught the flicker in her eyes. Later, when Evelyn stepped out to take a call, Julia leaned close to me. She hesitated. "Did you see it? She knows something." The thought unsettled me more than Cassandra's screaming. By noon, the ripple effects were visible. Neighbors texted me snippets of group chats. "Did you hear? Cassandra forged letters." Some pitied her. Most condemned her. A cousin sent me a message. "I'm sorry for last night. I should have spoken sooner." The tide was shifting, but it came with cost. My father left a voicemail, his voice thunderous. "You embarrassed us. We will never forgive you for this." My mother sent nothing at all. That afternoon Miriam visited. She set a tin of cookies on the counter, her eyes gentle. "Your grandmother would be proud. She always said truth takes longer, but it lasts." I thanked her, but my mind stayed on the text. Why target Evelyn? What secret was left? Evelyn returned from her call, her face composed. The bank confirmed the safety box. Originals are untouched. Cassandra's video was pure bluff. She slid a document across to me. "This secures the estate fully in your name. It will be registered within days." I should have felt relief. Instead, unease gnawed at me. Late in the evening, Julia and I reviewed the files again. We organized the witness statements, the photographs, the recordings of Cassandra's meltdown. Every piece was solid. Every thread pointed to victory. And yet the message. When Julia left, I sat alone in the quiet apartment. The city lights blinked outside. I opened Grandma's last letter again, the one that ended with "Go to the cedar chest. You'll know when." Had I truly seen everything she left? Or had Evelyn guided me only to certain pieces? My phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. "Look closer." The chest held more than letters. "Check under the lining." My pulse quickened. I had rifled through the chest, but in my haste, I hadn't examined it fully. I called Julia immediately. "Meet me at Grandma's house. Tonight." She hesitated. Meri, after everything, maybe wait until morning. No, I said, my voice sharp. If there's more, I need to see it now. Because when we arrived at Grandma's room and opened the cedar chest again, I pulled back the lining and found a second, hidden compartment. Inside was another sealed envelope, darker and heavier than the rest, marked in Grandma's hand. For Meri alone. Do not trust Evelyn. The envelope was heavy in my hands. Dark paper sealed in wax, Grandma's handwriting across the front. For Meri alone. Do not trust Evelyn. The room seemed to close in on me. Julia's breath caught behind me. She whispered. Do you think she knew this far ahead? I broke the seal. Inside, a letter, long, deliberate, written in Grandma's unmistakable hand. Meri, it began. You must be wondering why I asked you not to trust Evelyn. She is not your enemy, but she is not without her own motives. I hired her once long ago, to protect me from Cassandra's schemes. She is good at her work, but she will always choose law over family, strategy over heart. Do not let her direct your path entirely. Trust her skill, but never hand her your whole self. My chest tightened as I read. Grandma had seen further than I imagined. She hadn't only left me property and letters. She left me a compass. The letter ended with a single line. Carry your own truth. Never let anyone hold it for you. I folded the paper with trembling fingers. Julia squeezed my shoulder. So what will you do? I looked around Grandma's room. The chest. The bed. The walls that had held decades of secrets. I'll keep working with Evelyn, I said slowly. But on my terms. Grandma gave me the tools. Now I have to use them myself. The days that followed confirmed what we already knew. Cassandra's forged letters collapsed under scrutiny. Witnesses spoke. Neighbors whispered. My parents tried to salvage dignity, but the damage was done. The codicil stood unshaken. The estate passed to me. Cassandra vanished from public for a while. No galas, no holiday dinners, no smug speeches. My mother stopped calling. My father left angry voicemails I never returned. But none of that mattered. Because for the first time I wasn't shrinking. I walked into the house I now owned, not as a guest, not as the quiet shadow at the table, but as the heir Grandma had trusted. The heir felt different. Lighter. I carried the binder under my arm, but I didn't need it as armor anymore. It was history now, proof of a storm survived. Standing in the quiet kitchen, I whispered the words Grandma once gave me. Legacy is not heir. It is honesty. That was my revenge. Not fire. Not fury. Truth. Exposed in the very room where I had been called worthless. I am Meri. My sister humiliated me at Christmas dinner. Called me worthless in front of everyone. But then the lawyer read Grandma's will, and the truth silenced her forever. Cassandra tried to forge, to twist, to threaten. She failed. Because I carried proof. Because I carried patience. Because I carried myself. And to you listening, if someone has ever told you that you are nothing, remember this. Silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is waiting. And when the moment comes, you will not need to scream. The truth will speak louder than their lies. Grandma saw me. She left me her house, her estate, her trust. But more than that, she left me the lesson I now give to you. Your worth is not decided by their voices. It is decided by your strength to hold the truth. And when you hold it, no one, not even family, can erase you. If my story resonated with you, subscribe for more. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you faced betrayal and found your strength. Remember, you are never worthless. And the best revenge is living in a truth so strong, no one can deny it.